The transgender community in the U.S. is very, very small. It got really outsized attention. There are a lot of people who say that your campaign demonized the trans community as a way to present a wedge issue for perhaps men of color, suburban parents. Why do you think, and I know you believe that those ads worked, why do you think they worked?
As they continue to go through the stages of grief for the 2024 election, the mainstream media has now shifted to, get this, blaming Donald Trump for running an effective campaign that actually had good political messaging. Yep, we're not making that up. And it's so funny because I've been covering the fact that they refuse to take any accountability. They put no blame on Kamala Harris when you would think if you're a Democrat, you should forget Trump, forget the Republicans and Project 2025. Take a second now that the election is over to actually look inwards and ask yourself, how did Kamala Harris raise $1 billion, blow it all, and somehow end up in debt, and by the end have absolutely nothing to show for it? I don't know. If I was a Democrat, I'd be pretty pissed off at my party right now, but instead they are just shifting the blame to us. And take a listen now as Dana Bash is blaming the Trump campaign for weaponizing transphobia in its political messaging. And this is referring to that ad you may have seen about how Kamala Harris is for they, them, Donald Trump is for you. This is referring to the fact that Kamala supported the taxpayer funding of transition surgeries for illegal immigrants. Just total insanity. But Dana Bash, again, is not mad at the Democrats for embracing those policies. How dare the Republicans make a point to the American people that the other party is embracing deeply unpopular policies? We'll show you this here in a second. It's just so hilarious. But first, folks, do us a big favor. If you enjoy the content, make sure you're subscribed. We're trying to hit 400,000 subs before Donald Trump assumes the presidency. It's the best way to support the work, and it's completely free. So please hit that red button. And with that said, here is Dana Bash trying to accuse a Trump campaign official of the weaponization of transphobia or something.
So speaking of policy, your campaign flooded the airwaves in the battleground states and on national cable, even on networks and streaming during NFL games, with ads specifically focused on a trans issue. I want you to listen to some of it, and we'll talk on the other side.
Even the liberal media was shocked Kamala supports taxpayer-funded sex changes for prisoners and illegal aliens.
Every transgender inmate would have access.
Kamala's for they, them. President Trump is for you.
By the way, I don't know if you guys know this, but this actually polled as Donald Trump's best ad of the campaign cycle. Like, it was the most popular, it was the most moving to people. And that was very interesting to me because I saw this a lot on TV, obviously during sports games. And, you know, I agree with the ad, but I always ask myself, is that the best one you can run? Maybe you shouldn't focus on the culture wars. No, it was perfect. Clearly, it was the most popular. It helped him in the polls. You saw that actively. And you know what? Shout out to the Trump campaign. Very brilliant ad. And look at her face. You're mad at us because why? We had effective political messaging. We won. The ad freaking worked. Okay, so if you're so mad about it, either A, ask the Democrats, ask Kamala Harris why she signed on to this ridiculous idea, or if you really want to go down this route, I don't know, ask the American people why they're so quote unquote transphobic. By the way, I don't think it's that, but still. But instead, you're mad again. The central accusation is about to be they are mad at the Trump campaign for being effective and winning. Because how dare we do that? You know, how dare we not be like Mitt Romney and constantly accept defeat? And just let ourselves get our butts kicked all the time. Just saying.
The transgender community in the U.S. is very, very small. It got really outsized attention. There are a lot of people who say that your campaign demonized the trans community as a way to present a wedge issue for perhaps men of color, suburban parents. Why do you think, and I know you believe that those ads worked, why do you think they worked?
Well, first of all, we didn't demonize the transgender community. In fact, This really isn't even about transgender issues. This ad is really about misplaced priorities.
Correct.
At the end of the day, it is a small minority of the country that thinks taxpayer dollars should be spent on that sort of thing. And when you have a majority of the country who is saying very clearly that they don't believe the government is working for them, they're worse off than they were 4 years ago, the country is in the wrong track, and then to see a presidential candidate who is saying she's going to move this agenda forward and that's how taxpayer dollars should be spent, it just doesn't comport with them. They don't think the government is working for them. People want the government to be doing what their priorities are. And frankly, spending taxpayer dollars to give transgender surgery to prisoners is just not a priority of the American people. And that's why the ad was effective. It's about misplaced priorities on behalf of a leader.
So,
yeah, the ad worked because I think there are fundamentally two reasons why Kamala lost and Trump won. One of them is the embracing by Democrats of the elitism, right? The Liz Cheneys, the Dick Cheneys of the world, the abandoning of the working class. That's probably the more economic reason they lost. But on the social level, there's a second one. And it's that people just downright think the Democrats are crazy. Okay, that the woke people are insane. And by the way, even Democrat voters seem to believe that, because look at how much more deep blue states went for Trump this time around. Look at the fact that even in places like Los Angeles, George Gascon lost re-election. That's a very soft on crime DA, lost re-election by like 30 points. The tough on crime ballot proposition there passed by 70% of the vote. Even in San Francisco, I believe the very soft on crime mayor lost the general election. Even the Democrats think this stuff is crazy. So again, don't get mad at us for highlighting the woke. A lot of Americans already feel this and have to deal with it. Your question should be for the Democrats. Why do you keep embracing and refusing to condemn very insane, out there, ridiculous policies? And by the way, this Trump guy is right. The whole illegal immigrant transgender surgery issue is not even really about transgenderism. It is about the fact that why are we giving these benefits to illegals? And like, it's just crazy on many levels. It has very little to do with transphobia or anything like that.
so it was using the top issues that are most important to voters, the economy and immigration, and presenting it through an ad that was very memorable. Were you surprised that the Harris campaign didn't respond in kind?
Not particularly, because at the end of the day, it was her words right there very clearly. She was on camera owning that position. And, you know, the ad did something else, too, which is really important. It positioned her as the ideologically far-left liberal that she is and always was. We saw when she first came into the race, there was this whole rush to try to erase the history of Kamala Harris, who was rated literally the most liberal senator in the U.S. Senate in 2019. And by the way, that was taken off the internet. We know that many outlets came out and said she was never the border czar. And then ultimately, I wouldn't be surprised if she voted for Donald Trump, because she had anonymous aides go out and leak that she was actually supporting his positions now, whether on the economy or the border or otherwise. So she really couldn't run from her words on that one when she was on many other issues.
No, exactly. And the excuse I hear from a lot of leftists is that nobody actually cares about this trans issue. You know, I heard so many debates before the election where the Democrats would say, this whole transgender thing, it's not going to make a difference. You guys are delusional. No Americans are even affected by this. And I always thought to myself, it's not that the issue of men playing in women's sports or sex change operations for illegals is going to single-handedly sway people's votes, but what it contributes to when you combine it with crime and the gender stuff and the racial stuff and the pronoun stuff and everything else, it like paints this big mosaic where the majority of Americans just think that the woke left is crazy and that the Democrat Party is a symbol of the woke left. Therefore, the Democrats and Kamala Harris, who, by the way, was very easy to paint as a very radical liberal, are just nuts. Right? Like, they are downright insane. They're not liked by anyone. They're not even liked by Democrats. And Dana Bash, if you're so upset about that, if you have so many questions about that, again, maybe ask Kamala Harris. By the way, you know why Kamala would not come out and condemn what she said or make a comment on it? Because she's trapped in a hole. Right? There's nothing she could do. First of all, she would have to acknowledge that she literally did support the taxpayer-funded transitions for illegals. But then on top of that, What is she going to do? Because if she doubles down on the woke side of it, she's going to lose the moderates. But also, if she took the same position and said, I don't support that anymore, that's crazy, the woke left would get mad. That's why Kamala tried to kind of straddle the fence, not really disavow the woke. The whole Democrat Party, if they continue to operate in fear of the far left, they're never going to win the center. And that's a lesson to this day. I'm still not exactly sure that they have learned yet. But Dana Bash overall does not seem to be very happy because she's now just trying to accuse the Republicans of being the bad ones on all these fronts. Take a listen.
So my question and what people want to know is what he is going to do.
I think he's going to do.
Just for example, 2 days ago, he called for investigation into anyone spreading rumors.
I think he's going to secure the border. I think he's going to get rid of this crazy inflation that's hurting middle class and working class families, hurting our economy. I think he's going to get back to common sense energy policy. I think he's going to focus on protecting the First Amendment. I mean, think about this. Did you ever think you would see Donald Trump, Elon Musk, RFK Jr., and Tulsi Gabbard on the same team? They were on the same team because of the attack on free speech, the attack on the First Amendment. He's going to focus on those things that the American people elected him to do.
Okay. I mean, there are a lot of, I want to move on to immigration. There are a lot of things that you just said that I think aren't totally fact-based. So they say that they're for free speech, but there are a lot of things that we know are not happening. I want to ask about immigration.
Came together.
Well,
all
maybe.
Because of the attacks on the First Amendment, on free. This is something our committee spent a bunch of time. We understand that there was censorship. We pointed that out.
Let's turn to immigration. So my question,
like this clip right here again, just summarizes this sort of hive mind mentality they have where they don't recognize the reality a lot of people in this country are living in. Now, in total fairness, I'm not sure that the average independent voter, let's say, is super following Elon Musk and like the EU censoring Twitter and Brazil and all that. No, that's not the point we're making. But what every American can probably relate to is the idea that in certain workplaces, in schools, etc., things like that, there is this sort of anti-free speech culture where people live in fear of saying certain things, even if they're not Trump supporters. But hey, maybe I don't agree with the sexual or gender agenda on this thing or that thing. There's a culture of fear. There's a culture of intimidation. There's an anti-free speech bias in this country, and it's coming from the left specifically. Okay, that's the reality that people live. So you can stand there and try to fearmonger or say that it's actually Donald Trump who's against free speech or it's Elon Musk who's against free speech, but the average people in this country are not the ones feeling that. Much like the crime and the immigration and everything else, Donald Trump's Twitter may offend some people, or, I think nowadays, honestly, people don't really care as much as they used to, but it is the policies and the ideas of the woke left that you feel the most in your lives. Right? Like you feel crime, obviously. That's very big. Safety, homelessness, immigration, free speech. Not just on like social media or news TV, but also just in the workplace, in your private life, just that general feeling of the hive mind. And that's exactly why, guys, the American people clearly felt a certain way. And a lot of the crazy woke social radicalism of the Democrat Party was a contributing factor to why they lost this election. But once again, these people refuse to be introspective. They are essentially just mad that we used effective messaging this time around. I don't know. It is what it is. Let them keep losing, I say. But with that said, though, let me know your thoughts, guys, on all of this in the comment section down below. Be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe if you're new, and until next time, God bless and peace.